welcome. Good morning. Say, I'm John Letourneau, representing the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce. It's a thrill to have everyone here this morning. You know, right off the top from our organization, we are creating opportunities for businesses to thrive. We've been doing it for 67 years. This is a great way for us to express kind of what our skills and strengths are. We're thrilled to see so many great folks here today. We have a celebration that we'd like to conduct. And to open this up, I would like to introduce to you the president of Safety Speed, Mr. Brian Donahoe.
Thanks, John, for helping us to put on this great event, and thank you all for being here today. This is a great group, great turnout. I'm Brian Donahoe. I've been president of Safety Speed since 1997. Kind of call it a home away from home here a lot. I spend quite a bit of time here with our team, and I've loved it. We really are proud here to be here today and helping people to help us direct our policy, the teachers that are here to help teach our students, and most of all of our people that are here that are in manufacturing, including my team who has worked hard to make this company successful. And I think there's a lot more opportunities in our area to do that. You'll recognize our legacy product line as vertical panel saws. They are in Lowe's and Home Depot. We do private labeling for Milwaukee Electric Power Tool. You'll see them in local sign shops that make your campaign signs, things like that are using our machines to create cut plastics, wood, different type of materials. In the last 10 years, we've acquired 3 other companies, our product lines, including wide belt sanders, which you'll see right here, edge banders. There's one back in the back corner there, a Canadian company. This was a Detroit Lakes, Minnesota company. And then we've also acquired the rights to manufacture a pocket hole machine, mostly for the wood industry. The wood industry is our biggest customer. So not only do we look for manufacturing for ourselves and for people within our industry, our team, people to help with our metalworking, our assembly, but we also look for people for our customers and manufacturing of wood products and sign making. We're very active in our wood industry, the Wood Machinery Manufacturers of America, which also works with the International Woodworking Fair. We really focus hard on that industry of how to grow our manufacturers, how to educate the teams that are in our manufacturing. We have programs such as 40 Under 40 to get young people into the industry. So things like what are happening in this county and in this state will really help us to continue to grow our manufacturing base and our employee base. Let me look here to make sure I'm not. So I'm going to tell you a little background on Safety Speed. It's been around since 1958. It was started by a gentleman named Gene Olson. His family ran the company into the 90s. He actually developed the product because he had polio and he loved to work with woodworking, and he was a construction in that industry. However, he couldn't totally facilitate a 4x8 panel. So he invented the panel saw, and the local lumber yard started seeing it and said, "Hey, Gene, can you make me one of those panel saws?" So that is how this machine and this company started. And today we still try to think we can tweak what he invented and say we can make that a little bit better, but we still somehow can't get over that hump. He made it very well right out of the gate. So thanks to Gene and his family that started this company over 60 years ago. As we celebrate Manufacturing Day and the success of Anoka County Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to highlight one of our individuals here that really kind of tells a story that we need to tell this story a lot more, including in our own group, which we are seeing some of that now, is a gentleman by the name of Vance Radis, who started here when he was 18 years old. Today I won't tell you how old he is today, Vance. But Vance is 46 years old. He went through the Anoka Hennepin Tech and got an engineering degree in manufacturing while he was going to school here. Started in UPS, basically packaging. But he was a guy that always would take on anything that was around here and take it on and do the next step. And we saw a chance with our association back 10 years ago to actually help facilitate some scholarship money for him to go, and then we picked up some of the other money, and we pay 75% of the schooling today if someone wants to go back to school, and then after 18 months of them with us, we will pay the other 25% of that tuition. But Vance went through and he did that program, and you know, the money is one thing, but the dedication that he took to do that was awesome. And that's the hardest challenge, I think, for any of our team, and including myself. We'd all like to get educated a little bit better, but that balance of work life and really keeping the business going is tough. So again, I applaud the people that do that, and we need to keep finding better avenues for our current workforce to continue getting educated. So we've been a participant of the Chamber of Commerce manufacturing cohort for several years now. Not as active as I'd like to be all the time, and that's part of just getting very busy with everyday life, as we say. I'd like to thank Justin, our newest member of the team. He's been here for a year to really help facilitate this function today. It takes a lot of work and effort, and then the rest of my team also that's been involved in getting things ready for everybody showing up and putting it together. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Law, the superintendent of Anoka Hennepin School District, to talk a little bit more about the programs and manufacturing. So again, thank you all for coming.
Good morning, it's an honor to be here. I had no idea. 30 years ago as a young kid, I taught swimming over at Roosevelt Pool to this spunky little girl who is now Mrs. Vance Redis. Vance, I had no idea. Wow. We're proud at Anoka Hennepin School District that we graduate about 3,000 students a year, and we have a huge push to have all of our students be college and career ready. And as part of that, we really blend in post-secondary experience into our high schools. But beyond that, we have one of the premier secondary tech ed programs in the nation out on Highway 10, partnering with Anoka Technical College. And most people say, why do you push so many students into the four-year college? We don't. I just visited with a group of students at Andover High School this week, and I said, where do you get all this pressure to go to a four-year college? They said, Mom and Dad. And it's all about educating parents about clean places like Safety Speed that are great career pathways that are sustainable income for people. So our job is to educate the adults in our community about these wonderful careers. Now we're fortunate, a week ago I was at the Minnesota Tech Educator Association award ceremony where they gave the award for the Tech Education Administrator of the Year to our principal at our STEP program, who's here with me today, who really can only find solutions to challenges. When John Letourneau approached me and said, how can we get more of your students into more of our manufacturing plants? I said, well, let's look at this as this is possible. Let's work it together. So then like any good leader, I turned it over to my best people. I said, Jess, let's make this happen. So I'm going to call up to the stage one of the most talented technical leaders in K-12 schools in the state of Minnesota. And you might just be thinking I say that about all my principals. I do. But she really is the Tech Education Principal of the Year. Jess, leap up.
Good morning, thank you. A little over 5 years ago, we were asked to take a look at our manufacturing pathways in Anoka Hennepin School District. And at the time, I'm not as proud to say as I am right now that our pathway at best, leading kids into a field of manufacturing, wasn't that great. We had some good classes and we had some good opportunities, but we began to partner with the Anoka Chamber of Commerce. And I will tell you that what we have developed in the Anoka manufacturing cohort has been an amazing pathway for students. As a result, we took all of our students and we took a look at all of our data and said, why in an area with high demographic need for good quality manufacturers, why don't we have a very strong pathway, and what are we doing that could be better? We brought in local members and said, okay, we're gonna ask you to be a part of our advisory board. And what that means is you're gonna meet with us a couple of times a year, and we really need you to tell us what we should be teaching. And as a school district, I promise you we'll listen. I promise you we'll listen, and I promise you that we'll act on it and we'll make changes. And if we don't, I understand if you would never walk back into our school district again and offer us this advice. And as a result, we had many of our local manufacturers come to us and say, okay, this is what you should be teaching, this is what you should be offering, and this is where you should go, and these are the things that you can do. And as a result, we have slowly implemented a very strong manufacturing pathway where we now have hundreds of students within our school district taking courses and learning about careers in manufacturing. And yep, there was times when it seemed slow and there was times when it seemed difficult. But because of our advisory board and because of the people in this room and the people in our community, we were able to really change the trajectory for our students and show them a field that has an amazing potential for career education. We also at the same time implemented some wonderful opportunities for new equipment. They advised us on our curriculum, and they advised us on what content we should be offering our students. And we took that advice, and as a result, they provided us training for our teachers. We knew that we needed some more professional development opportunities for our teachers. And at the same time, many of our manufacturers came into our classrooms and taught the students, side by side with the teacher, because who knows the content better than our manufacturers, and that was our local industry people. Lastly, as a result, we re-implemented our internship programs in our district. Our students are working with many of you and side by side with many of you, many who have stayed in the industry and gone on to Anoka Technical College or another local college and have had their tuition paid or have had scholarship opportunities and amazing opportunities to understand what this industry can lead to. Because of the work of the people in this room and our collaboration with our community, our students are finally getting to see how great of a career this really can be, and we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and I can't thank you enough. Thanks.
Jess, thank you so much for the words. Dr. Law, thank you for being here today too and sharing your comments. We definitely could not do what we do without you. We're thrilled to be part of that group. Little housekeeping before I move forward with my piece of the presentation. I want to recognize there are a couple elected officials here today. Commissioner Scott Schulte is here from Anoka County. Yeah. Chair Commissioner. Also, Commissioner Meisner, Mandy Meisner, I think, is here today, possibly, but I want to thank her for coming. Commissioner Brastad, who represents this region, couldn't be here this morning. She was not feeling well, but we're glad that they're here, in thought, for sure. And then also, we've got many representatives from our community in a lot of different ways, a lot of city folks here and other members of the community that we all know are part of this story, and we want to thank you for being here as well. So moving forward, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background and tell a little bit of our story in regards to what's been happening with the manufacturing cohort for the last number of years. To some degree, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because a lot of you have heard this story before and so many times, and it's just always my pleasure to share it. And so I'm trying to maybe just focus the attention in a little bit different direction. Since we are celebrating National Manufacturing Day and Manufacturing Month, and we're celebrating the wonderful work that all of our manufacturers are doing for our economy and community, I want to turn it toward Governor Walz and his staff, and I want to say that a lot of this messaging is for your benefit. We really want you to understand what is happening in Anoka County, what is happening in this region, and how we are supporting manufacturing, and how we as a community are doing amazing things together and collaboratively as one. And this is, I think, an important piece of your platform in regards to how you believe One Minnesota is sort of an initiative that we'd like to focus on. And I think we're a really good example and a mentor of what that looks like. And so this story shares how a community can work together and how a community can support each other. The cohort itself was called upon by our board of directors about 7 years ago, and they said, we really would like to have a value proposition for manufacturing. Traditionally, we have embraced manufacturing and said, hey, it's October, what should we do? And we do a tour or something like that, and we thought, that's a good thing. But we said, maybe it could be better. So we brought this group together, started to have a little bit of a conversation about what it is that they do and how maybe an organization like a chamber could help. And as a result of that, we found this to be very consistent around 3 significant issues that all manufacturers seem to share in common. One of the issues was workforce development. Where is the next workforce going to come from? The second issue that we had in common was workforce incumbent training. Who's going to lead the next generation of our organizations, and how are we going to prepare them for that? And then finally, the third thing that we focused on was continuous improvement. And so we knew that all of our manufacturers, and to be honest with you, a lot of our businesses all have those things in common, and that we as an organization like a chamber would have really interesting skill sets and competencies that we've developed in our 67 years that could add value to that. And so my role has been as a facilitator for that. I'm the guy that brings the collaboration together. I create conversations. I ask really good questions in regards to how we all can support each other. And that's what this is about. And so as a result of it, we've got a mission statement that's appropriate for our group. And this is one that we developed very early and we continue to use on a regular basis. And so the mission of the manufacturing cohort for the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce is to become a catalyst for strengthening community manufacturing. We're interested in a transformation of an acceleration into an engine of efficiency, innovation, and job creation, all toward economic growth. That's how we're focusing our efforts, and we know that if we work together, that we're going to be a better community as a result of that. So moving forward, when we got the group together, we meet on a regular basis, like every 6 to 8 weeks. We talk about the issues that are important to the manufacturers, and we bring forward ways to support those issues. We first started to gather a list of what the issues were. Imagine this, they were 100 deep. We said, okay, 100's too many. We got to boil it down. So we boiled it down, luckily, to about 18 serious, consistent issues that everybody shared in common. And as you can imagine, they would be things that other businesses were sharing and experiencing as well. We were looking at things like competition, aging workforce, low interest in the industry, general awareness, knowledge, sort of things around the pipeline, communication, maybe some of the generational things. All of those issues really came forward quickly. And then as an organization and as a group, we decided that we couldn't tackle them all. Let's break them down into some things and some activities that we all can address starting really quickly. And so the first number of years we were looking at things like marketing awareness, how to use social media, a little bit about education, job knowledge, but specifically what we seemed to land very solidly on was outreach and awareness, and then the high school pipeline. And so we've been working quite extensively on kind of developing that pipeline and creating those pathways that allow for students to have experiences and create awareness around their own orientation about how they view the world and what kind of work they might be doing. Help them identify that very early in the process so that we can have multiple opportunities to expose them to different opportunities in things in manufacturing that allows them to kind of naturally progress toward that. And so as a result of it, we've had just this wonderful collaboration with the Anoka County School District and really been instrumental in helping them understand how to kind of rewrite the curriculum and really start to move students forward on pathways that bring them toward manufacturing. We've also done quite a bit of work on helping people understand like the generational aspect of what's happening with the aging workforce. We're all kind of aging baby boomers and we're dropping out and there's a new generation coming in, and guess what? They work differently than baby boomers did. And that's sometimes hard to understand, but we allowed this group to have a real good, clear understanding of how to interact with those folks who, they're not entitled at all. They're not lazy. They're actually very engaged. They work differently. They do not do life-work balance. They do life-work integration. And that's a different mindset. So we're thrilled to have those folks as our next leaders. One of them's going to be president someday, that's for sure. So we're excited about that. But our programming continues. This work that we're doing is a community effort. The Chamber has these skill sets to be able to bring lots of different aspects of a community together. We have great relationships with the Governor's Office and Department of Labor, DEED. We work hand in hand with those folks. We're creating modules that actually an employer can pull from our database and say, we really need to understand internships, and we can just pull that right out and say, okay, here's the pathway. This is when you first start introducing people to internships. This is how you move down that road. These are the folks that we need to talk to at the state. This is how you get the funding. These are the ways that you can expect for this to flow. Here's a couple of the challenges that we're dealing with, and these are the things that you can expect as results. And so we're having these great opportunities to really make some differences there. That's really exciting. That's part of the module. So as it relates to how we feel about what's going on with the school district too, we understand that students are self-identifying and they're landing in this place about where they want to go with careers. And we're trying not to, as Dr. Law said, drive everybody toward a four-year degree. We're trying to open it up so that everybody has an opportunity to explore and find their own pathway. And again, in a lot of cases, we've done some really hard data digging, and we understand kind of what that population looks like. And we originally thought that maybe 20% of the students that were in a graduating class would be best suited for manufacturing. And what we've actually learned, it's more like 70% of the students that are inside the school systems are really more oriented toward a career in the trades. And so what we're doing is we're identifying who those students are. We're actually being able to put a number on that. And as Dr. Law said, he'll graduate 3,000 students this year. 70% of 3,000 students is a pretty big number. And that's going to be a year after year opportunity for us to supply a workforce need here right in the community where these students grew up. So we're very excited about that. Lastly, the other piece that we're sharing with students is the actual ability and what actually happens when you launch yourself into a manufacturing career. And so we've pulled some statistics from Anoka County in regards to workforce. And we looked at 11 different segments of workforce across Anoka County. We understand there's about 185,000 jobs inside Anoka County that supply 11 different segments of employment. And we also realize that the majority of, or a vast majority, or a large number of employment leaves Anoka County. And so what we'd like to try to do is capture those jobs so they can stay in Anoka County as best we can, because we know this county has the ability to support more of that. But let's just say, out of the 185,000 jobs that are in Anoka County across these 11 segments, there are about 19% of those workers are in manufacturing. Cities like Ramsey and Fridley and a few of the other communities around this corridor where manufacturing is really strong, it's more like 30% of the workforce that's in those cities is actually manufacturing. So there's a great opportunity and there's a great need for these jobs. So if we even dial it back a little further, we're taking a look at what kind of wages are associated with that. Across those 11 segments, there's about $1.8 billion worth of wages that are going in there. And we looked at what the average annual income was for those 11 segments, and we found that the average income for an employee in those 11 segments was $50,000 a year, which is actually a reasonable income, you think, as a mean income. But then we pulled manufacturing out, and we said, what does it look like for someone who goes into manufacturing? What could they expect to have as a mean income once they get into the field? And that number is $79,000 annually. That's a crazy number. And when we start to share that with students, that really sends a great message. It sends a good message to their families. It sends a good message about what this really means. And to us, it means that you can grow up in Anoka County. You can go to school here, and you can be educated and employed in Anoka County in a way that will allow you to buy a house, start a family, get that truck, and do it without a single dollar worth of a debt from college. That's an exciting message, and we're thrilled that that's part of our awareness to this whole effort that we're putting. And so again, I just like to tell you that we're excited about the work that we're doing with this group. We are 7 years into it. We are nowhere near done. We've got what we think are really good early wins. We've got some really cool planning for medium-range solutions, and we are looking at this from a very long-term perspective. We want sustainability and predictability in the work that we're doing supporting manufacturing, and that's the effort that we're moving on right now. And we can't do it without the fact that we are not all working together. And so the piece about this, again, is that if we're going to be a community that's going to grow and we're going to thrive as a community, we need to do this together. And I think we understand that in Anoka County. We are totally on it, and we would love to be that model for the rest of the state and the nation in regards to how to do this. And so it's been my pleasure to hang out with you guys today here a little bit. This is a really exciting program. I'm thrilled that you're all here. We will continue to work hard to try to pull a great programming together and pull the resources that are needed. I want you to know that you can always count on me for that, and we will work, as I said, as a team. I'm going to move forward now and pass the microphone to my new friend. So Commissioner Nancy Leppink is here today, and she is the Department of Labor Commissioner. Nancy previously represented Department of Labor as an Assistant Attorney General and then worked as the agency's General Counsel for about 10 years from 1999 to 2009. After 24 years of state service, she was appointed by the Obama administration to the Deputy Administrator of Wage and Hour Division for the U.S. Department of Labor and led that division as its acting administrator. Ms. Leppink was appointed by Governor Walz in February of 2019 to the Minnesota Department of Labor as the industry's commissioner. And I am very thrilled that she's able to join us today, and I want to tell Ms. Leppink, welcome, and we're glad you're here. Thank you.
So it's a pleasure to be here this morning with all of you. I'm going to have to put my glasses on now. I've had a wonderful week, actually, and the governor and I have shared a bit of that week together visiting manufacturers around the state. And, I've always enjoyed seeing where people work, because where people work has been part of and the importance of where people work has been part of my life for my entire career. So, and it's nice to be here again today and meet all the folks from Safety Speed today. So thank you, John, for that introduction, and Brian and Safety Speed for hosting today's event. Thanks to the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce for bringing us all together here today to celebrate Manufacturing Month and Manufacturing Day. So as the Commissioner of the Department of Labor and Industry, I have the privilege, as I've said, to see regularly how manufacturing is having an incredible impact on our state's economy, but more importantly, from my agency's perspective, on our state's workers. Approximately 322,000 Minnesotans work in manufacturing and earn on average across the state. So obviously I see that Anoka has a competitive advantage, but our data indicate on average about $67,000 each year, making manufacturing the industry in the state that pays 15% more on average than wages across all the other industries in the state. So as the person in charge of ensuring that Minnesotans are paid the wages that they're promised and that those wages can sustain their families, I'm always thrilled when Minnesotans can find careers in work that enables families to thrive and to succeed. And manufacturing is bringing that financial strength to our workers and families across the state. But with that much success, we also recognize that the challenges that manufacturing is facing when it comes to its workforce. And in a time where too often our children and their parents have been told they must earn a 4-year degree to succeed, and old perceptions about manufacturing cause them to think that manufacturing might not be right for them. Manufacturing is instead proving, with their many partners, that the great career path can exist with the completion of certificates and associate degrees and registered apprenticeships. So the Department of Labor and Industry is proud to lead workforce initiatives such as youth skills training to give 16 and 17-year-olds students meaningful experiences in manufacturing. And we also are proud to lead the Minnesota Dual Training Piepline Program and registered apprenticeship programs that allow for workers to earn and learn while they're training, and for employers and employees to pair on-the-job training with education to equip workers with the skills they need to succeed in rewarding manufacturing careers. So these programs help recruit and retain workers in manufacturing, and we're excited to have worked with many companies in Anoka County such as Ajax Metal Forming Solutions, Zero Zone, Dynamic Group, and Command Tooling and Systems. And we're looking forward to working with many more of you in the future. So one of the things too, though, I've learned as I've been, particularly in this week, but in earlier weeks of traveling around the state and engaging with manufacturers, is that in addition to workforce development, there's also critical importance to look at how are we going to be more inclusive in our workforce. And speaking as a woman who, when I was in high school, had to sort of get double extra permission to be in a drafting, to be allowed to participate in a drafting class. And I was the only girl, and none of the boys were too happy that I was there, nor was the teacher, to be honest with you. So consequently, when we're looking at manufacturing, we really need to work on how do we make sure that manufacturing is not only seen as a good job, but it's a job where all of the citizens and all of our students, all of our young people see a place for them to work. And we have many examples in the room that have made that effort. You know, Ajax here is just being in their plant. Clearly that energy of inclusion and equity and diversity is present. But also what I was just had a conversation now in Faribault with the head of the, help me, DICOM, yes, excuse me. And it was interesting, as we were leaving the plant, he was saying to me, you know, I'm involved in conversations that I never thought I would be involved in before. Because I'm talking about affordable housing, I'm talking about transit, I'm talking about childcare, because now what we're realizing that in addition to all of the work that we're doing on building this workforce, they have to live somewhere. They have to get from where they live to our jobs somehow. And of course, we need to be looking at, as we have a more inclusive workforce and as women are coming into the workforce, we need to be looking at issues like childcare and how do we do a work-life balance with schedules and other sorts of things that allow for more parts of our families to be engaged. So consequently, we have to really take a holistic view of how do we make Minnesota strong and prosperous, and we need everyone at the table. So the fact that this person is seeing this, head of this company is seeing, you know, now I've got to be involved in that affordable housing conversation, because that's now critical to me. I've got to be involved in how on these transit conversations, because that's important to me. And that's where being part of this administration feels so energizing, is because the governor and the lieutenant governor have made an absolute commitment that the people who are affected by the policies of the state, they need to be at the table and engaging in not only identifying what the challenges are, but how are we going to find the solutions. And so with that, I then have the pleasure of actually introducing my boss, who's given me the privilege of working for him, the governor of the great state of Minnesota.
Thank you.
Tim Walz.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Actually, you're both of our bosses, so we're here to listen to you. But grateful. Mayor, thank you. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for the vision. Your mayor is a well-respected voice at the Capitol. That's exactly what we need. I oftentimes we talked about a budget that was a mayor and a county commissioner's budget, because that's where the actual work happens. I remember when I ran for Congress, somebody said, why don't you run for city council or mayor or something? I'm like, you know how hard that job is? And they know where you live when you're the mayor. So, but we appreciate it. Your voice matters. And to Dr. Law, thank you for that vision, and to the school here partnering. We understand that these false choices that we make are wrong, that there has to be an integration. I am so proud in Mankato that for many, many years we had a shared employee that the Greater Mankato Growth, the Chamber in Mankato, and the school district shared together to make sure that we were doing smart career integration. We were thinking about that future look like. And to Brian and the folks at Safety Speed, I think some of you didn't notice, Brian left. He went through and held this event on the day that he is going to lay his beloved father to rest. That speaks volumes about his character, and it's our deepest sympathies to him. And to each of you, to the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce, and to our business owners and leaders. I'm here with great gratitude and great humility to say thank you for what you do. The risks that you take and the wealth that you creates these very jobs we're talking about that allow people to choose to live this incredible lifestyle. I often get out and I'm with other governors and I make the case about why Minnesota is great. And I feel very blessed, and I know I stand on the shoulders of the people who are here to talk about things. Some of the highest education attainment rates. We have the highest workforce participation rate of any of the states because we know how to work. We have a work ethic. People go to work because their employers treat them well. We have the highest life expectancy. We have the second highest concentration of software engineers outside of Silicon Valley. We manufacture everything from every fuel pump to the F-35 fighters to the battery boxes for nuclear submarines to every can of Spam. We can do that in Minnesota. We manufacture, we make, and we innovate. And when I say we, it's because of you. So the quality of life and the experiences that we have and the opportunity to buy a home in safe communities with world-class schools and participate in activities from the arts to outdoors, those are opportunities that are given when a good paying job is available, when a career is made available to someone, and we understand that's what you do. So the commissioner is right. That idea that you should be at the table and listening to businesses with a sense of partnership, a sense of humility, and a sense of shared values of where we're going. So when the business community tells us affordable housing is a problem, we're listening. When daycare is a problem, we're listening. When tax policy or regulatory environment is a problem, we're listening. Because together, these false choices we make, it is possible to create good paying jobs, to create safe working conditions, to do it in an environmentally sound manner, and to create the wealth necessary so that people can do that. That is possible. We're proving that. We're doing it in Minnesota. And when I go out, and we were just in Japan making the case, and many Japanese companies and Korean companies are thinking of investing here and looking about Minnesota companies investing and working. We already have them there, Medtronic, 3M, but others are starting to go there. One of the things that they look at is all of those factors, but the one thing I don't think we should overlook, when these people, whether it's internationally or here, they talk about this, it's the sense of community. That's what the mayor's talking about too, fostering the sense of community and the solutions for the community, what works best for the community. Talking about Fairmont under Superintendent Joe Brown down there, they implemented Welding Academy. They've got McNeely Steel. They make all the dump trucks and garbage trucks, many of them that you see around. They needed welders, so they went in and they created, and they partnered with the school, and they put the plasma cutters in there. They put in there and talked about these kids how to TIG weld, everything they needed to do. So last year when the first group of 8 graduates graduated, all 8 were placed making that $60,000 a year with benefits. And I just talked to somebody who works at the local car dealership. You're right, the first thing they're gonna go do is buy that truck. The second thing they're gonna go do is to buy that snowmobile. And maybe then, once they get a little bit older, they're thinking about buying that house. But the one thing they're thinking about doing, they're staying in that community that they love because the opportunity was there. Had that not been there, they would have left. And we recognize this, and we know that not all the ideas are certainly going to come from the state, but we have the economy of scale. We have the capacity to change the things you can't do. We can make sure the transportation system is up to what you need. We can make sure that pipeline of talent is up to what you need, and we can listen and innovate and partner in ways that make us stronger together. So I can't tell you, again, all those statistics that came out there, the one that I'm most impressed with is when they asked all 50 states, Minnesota came in second on one. I'm not usually satisfied with second, but on this one's pretty good. They asked the question, how happy you are with people with their life and where they're at. Minnesota was the second happiest state in the nation, behind Hawaii. Okay, they win. They win. But that sense of that. And so we're doing something this week and today that's pretty alien to Minnesotans. We're celebrating some success because I get this. Minnesota Lutherans do a good deed, talk about it, it doesn't count anymore. We got to get over that a little bit. Talk about it. The manufacturing sector of this economy is absolutely critical. And you're seeing the doom and gloom that's coming. Manufacturing's in recession and all of this. That's not what we're hearing from you. But we are seeing some of those signs that we need to focus on. The commissioner's right. If you can't find an affordable place to live, it's hard to take the job. If you can't find good, safe daycare, it's hard to take the job. If you didn't have the skill sets or the training, it's hard to take the job. And what we're finding out is we tour Ajax, and we were with Rosenbauer yesterday. So we're over in Wyoming. 15% of all the fire trucks in the United States and a big chunk in the world, come from Minnesota. A chunk of steel comes in the back door, and a $900,000 ladder truck goes out the back door to be loaded on a plane and shipped to Nigeria or Saudi Arabia or to Oak Park, wherever it might be. And to go and tour yesterday with a group of high school students to see what's possible, to see all the different jobs that are in there and the sense of accomplishment that comes with that, it was just enlightening. It was exciting that they're like saying, this is something I could feel a sense of pride is. But as Superintendent Law said, and every one of you know, and I was just speaking with the gentleman, this newer generation, this group of kids, you're exactly right. They are hardworking. They just do things differently. But the one thing is, they want to know how things are built. They want to know how things are done. We've got to get to their parents. I am the father of an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I'll tell you what, if that 12-year-old comes home and tells me he wants to be a plumber, it'll be the happiest day of my life. It'll be a skill that I know he's interested in. He wants to understand how these things work. I know he'll make a living. For God's sakes, they're like Sasquatch. I can't find them. And when you hire them, whatever they charge me, I thank them for charging me so much because they get it done. That's how capitalism works. That's how the free market works. These are skills that we need to tell our kids to have. But I've witnessed it in my own daughter. We took tech ed out of schools. We took the idea of experiential ed out of there. We took the idea for the educators in this room that there are multiple intelligences, and we've known this for a long time, and we kept trying to ram the square peg in the round hole rather than turning them loose and letting them go. I've seen it in my own daughter. She's taking chemistry and doing great, taking trigonometry. She asked me one time, when am I ever going to use trigonometry? It was the one time. I used to be the first sergeant of the guard unit here in Anoka. We were artillery people. I said, let me tell you, you can shoot artillery. She said, great, that's where I'm going to use trigonometry to shoot artillery at people. But she's taking these classes, but you know what she was really curious about? We're driving one day in my old International Scout, and it started heating up, and I told her I think I had a stuck thermostat and we should check it out. She was so curious how you would know to take 2 bolts out, take out the thermostat, boil it, see if it works, and replace it back in. They're not having the hands-on, but she was curious about it. So now, of course, she's a freshman. She thinks she wants to go into political science. That's the last damn thing we need as political scientists. We need somebody who understands and wants to create, and they're out there. But if that's her passion and that's where she chooses to go, that pathway is open to her. I just want to make sure the pathway to manufacturing, the pathway to entrepreneurship, the pathway to get into manufacturing and then own your own business and innovate and try to make that the goal if that's where you want to go. So I'm just here to say thank you for what you're doing. Here to say we hear you and we're listening to you, Mayor, to tell you that we've got programs in place and that we're partners and that the state's responsibility is to come to you with a sense of humility, humbleness, partnership, and vision that is shared by you to continue to make us the most prosperous, the most productive, the second happiest state in the nation. So congratulations to all of you. Take some time to celebrate your successes.